What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we have a regionals report with Sam Chen, who made top four at Philadelphia Regionals this past weekend, playing his Raikou, Eels, Eelektross, Mewtwo, Seismitoad deck. Now, he talks a lot about this deck. The interview is about 30 minutes to 40 minutes long, if I remember correctly. He talked about Seismitoad a lot, how Seismitoad is like a really good MVP in so many matchups right now. Raikou is really great as well against like Seismitoads and some other stuff as well with Shiny Body, really cool attack, a really cool ability, making where you take 20 less damage by Pokemon with Lightning Energy. Thunderlance, a really good attack. He talks about how you only need one Eel. The list he talks about. He talks about the list a lot. With the Evosodas and Karens, what cool plays you can do. The Fighting Field, the Rough Seas. Really good, really good deck. Obviously, like Sam made top 4 right there. But guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Thanks for watching, and let's see it right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we're doing another regionals interview, and what's your name, sir?
Sam. Or Brandon.
Or Brandon.
Yeah, or Brandon.
Take your pick.
Take your pick.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about what, the Philadelphia Regional Championship, correct?
Yes, we are.
Alrighty. And I know we just saw your.
Might I say, the last regional champion before Donald Trump was the president-elect. Unfortunately,
it could be your last regional champion, or last regional championships.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So, guys, I know my video keeps freezing. I'm trying to fix it while we're doing the interview. It keeps going in and out. We'll just roll with it, see what happens. But we saw your Raikou Eels list, and before we talk about your tournament report, what made you want to play that deck?
Funny story. I had no idea what I wanted to play for like the night before, the week before. I actually think I was gonna play the Colorless that Mikey got second with. I was just gonna play his exact 60. I tested a little bit of Toad and Trevenant, just the lock decks. I played a little Greninja and a little Rainbow Road, but nothing really I really liked. So in line, when we were at we were in registration line, Azul walks by, and Azul had just won Florida, and we're pretty good friends, both playing in New England. And I'm like, all right, Azul, what are you playing? I'm just gonna play your exact 60. He's like, all right. I'm like, really? I was like, all right. And so so I took a photo of his list, and then one of my other friends, Eric Rodriguez, let me borrow basically like his entire Eels list. So I just took the bad cards out, put the good cards in, and here we are. I actually finished building the deck like 10 minutes after they'd collected my deck list. I was looking for like a certain cards, but thankfully I eventually got it.
Did you find like all the weird cards, like the Evosodas and stuff like that too, or was that like a struggle?
No. So Eric, I think had a lot. Eric had Azul's list too, so he was like playing off like 55 or 56 of the same cards.
Okay. Because I was gonna say that's like a random card just have on you. It's just like a random Evosoda. Like most people don't have that. So.
Squeaky, you're telling me you don't carry 4 Evosodas all times?
No. I'm sorry, I don't. I know it's hard to believe. Or I mean, I think I have Raikous on me, but maybe not Electrics. So. All right, but let's go over your tournament. You can go like as much detail as you want, or as little as possible. It's up to you. Like, what happened day 1 in Swiss?
Yeah, day one went a lot smoother as I thought. I hadn't touched Eels in like years since like Raikou EX was still its main partner. Yeah, it basically plays the same, I think, as the old version. One big difference that I had to adjust to is that back in the day, one, there was no parallel city, so you could expect your bench to be 5 always.
Yeah.
And 2, with Raikou EX, you had to discard 3 energies every turn to hit 180, or 2 energies to hit 120. And so, like, you really needed 3 Eels in play as much as possible, and like 2 is the bare minimum. With Raikou, you just need 1. 2 is great, but like you really just need 1 in most matchups, and getting 2 is obviously very good. Yeah. And so you have to be careful. You have to be careful that you don't overbench Tynamos like you did before, and that's actually something I made a mistake in round 1. I just like benched 3 Tynamos on turn 1 and just felt that was unnecessary. I think, yeah, otherwise it plays very similarly to the past Eels. Do you want me to just go through my matchups on day 1? Or?
Yeah, there's like an interesting matchup. You could talk about it. I know like some matchups going to be like very straightforward to how you won kind of thing.
Yeah, so like round 1 I played against a Rainbow Road Archeops deck. He was relatively new, but you know, he whiffed Archeops game 1. I set up 3 Eels and Thankfully, he played Skyfield, so I didn't bump it, even though I could have. I waited to bump it until I had until I got into a position where I was trying to prevent a knockout. Basically, it was trade back and forth. Fighting Fury Belt really helps to hit 120 on the Xerneas.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Mewtwo is also huge in that matchup. To be able, you can return a KO on a Xerneas with a double Colorless and a Lightning. So it's basically a one Dynamo or one attachment away. If you belt it, they need 7 different types on the bench to kill it. And so if you can actually Mewtwo belt with Rough Seas in the same turn, it's great. I think a little later on I did to someone else. I actually played a Karen. The turn I Ultra Balled for Mewtwo, played a Rough Seas, and belted it, which got rid of their Ho and Execute on the bench, or in the discard pile, and so they just struggled to knock out Mewtwo, and then Mewtwo just sort of swept.
Jeez.
So, yeah, so I feel like Rainbow Road, I think, is, with the Archeops, it's like quite 50-50, I think, because they can exert a lot of early pressure. Without Archeops, I think you're slightly favored, maybe 60-40.
Yeah.
Round 2, I played against a good friend, Russell Lepar. He was playing Yveltal Maxis, and he struggled both games to even get Archeops out turn 1. And so, he basically, you have to attack with Night Spear, but Night Spear is no longer as efficient as it was before because you're running DCEs, you're running like less, it's unlike the straight Darkrai's with just Dark and Sableye from previous years.
Yeah.
I'm living in the past, basically.
No more speed Darkrai kind of thing anymore.
No more speed Darkrai, and so Darkrai can't even get a one-shot on a Raikou, and so he's two-shotting my non-EX, and I'm two-shotting his EX, and just not great. He tries to get Gallade set up, but I save my Mewtwo for Gallade. And Gallade, they can't one-shot a Fighting Fury belted Mewtwo if you just keep it on the bench, so you'll always have it to deal with Gallade.
Now, if he did get the Archeops out, like, how does that matchup go? Does the Evosoda help out a lot, or can you still, like, is it hard?
Yeah, so I run 2 Evosodas and one Hex Maniac.
Yeah.
So they do help out a lot. As I said, because Darkrai is very slow, you don't actually need, like, an army of eels. You can just get one and, like, start attaching from your hand. Like, it's not that bad. What actually really hurts is Parallel City.
Okay.
Because they limit your bench size, and so, like, a cool play, like, if they can Lysandre and Eels on the same turn, or like Lysandre is Shaymin, then play Parallel City, and or it's just bad. It's sorry, if they can Lysandre kill an Eels like the turn they Parallel City, you'll struggle to set up Raikou if you don't already have energy on it. So I think the matchup is in the hands of a skilled Yveltal player. It's only like 55-45 for Raikou. I don't think it's that favorable because of Archeops and Parallel City.
Yeah. So at this point, you're 2-0.
2-0. Round 3, I play against another friend of mine, Patrick, from around New York. He's playing Mega Rayquaza. And so game 1, he never sets up. He prizes pretty poorly, I think, and I take advantage because of the weakness. He sets up Altaria, but it doesn't end up mattering. I Hex once through Altaria to get a one-shot on a Mega Rayquaza. He can't respond. Yeah. Game 2, I go first. Game 2, he goes first, and I only have a Raikou with a Fighting Fury Belt active. And so I N into nothing, no Pokemon, no Ultra Ball, but I do have a supporter, and so I'm just pass, and he digs very deep. I think he plays like 3 Shaymins that turn, and like a Hoopa, and like digs for all the pieces. He ends up unable to find the Spirit Link. So my Raikou survives. He ends up just being able to use the regular Rayquaza, the Dragon Rayquaza, for 10 damage because I have Shining Body, as opposed to 3,000 damage for if you just got Mega Rayquaza out.
Yeah, just a Mega Rayquaza. Yeah, game over.
And next turn I Juniper into good stuff, and I just sort of stabilize my position and sacrifice a couple Raikous, but I take EX knockouts and he takes non-EX knockouts. So
yeah, it seems pretty easy.
Yeah, so that matchup I actually think is favorable for Eels, but not that favorable. If they get off to a good start, they can Hex Chain for the rest of the game, and I'm never able to power up a Raikou to do enough to one-shot a Mega Rayquaza. So
okay,
yeah, so it's closer than you might think it is. Round 4, I play against Mega Gardevoir. It's a tough matchup, actually. Game 1 took a very long time. But like a Fighting Fairy belted Raikou with a Lightning that essentially has 180 HP, which you can't OHKO without Starling Megaphone.
Yeah.
So the good part is that, Gardevoir starts attacking he always two-shots for sure, and he can like sometimes reach for the one shot. So I game 1, like it's very scrappy. I kill his first Mega Gardevoir, but he gets a Hex Chain going. He played 2 Hex Maniac, 4 VS Seeker, and a Pal Pad.
Jeez.
Yeah, so he got a Hex Chain for like 4 maybe turns, 3-4 turns, and like a Hex later too. And so I was unable to power up Raikou. At some point I sent out a Toad with a Fighting Fairy Belt just to wall the Hex Chain.
Yeah.
But I ended up pulling it off actually with Eelektros. I knew I needed to kill that Guardian one-shot because I was out of Raikous. And so I basically... Eelektros is actually in my discard pile because I made a mistake to discard it earlier. Or maybe I had to. I forget exactly how that went. But I Karen for the Eelektros, giving him all his Shaymins and Hoopas back.
God, so scary.
Just to Ultra Ball for the Eelektros and Crash and Burn, discarding all my energy to one-shot a Gardevoir. And then he's out of Gardevoirs, and so I sort of take a Raikou knockout at the end. And game 2 just doesn't get to finish. It takes us both a long time to set up, and he needs to Hex Chain me or else he loses. And so, sometime through the Hex Chain, time is called. And yeah, he doesn't. I mean, I have just non-EX attackers.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Rounds 5 and 6, I actually play against 2 Trevenants. Round 5, I actually play against Eric Rodriguez, which is the guy who lent me do the cards. So,
like
so
no
he actually,
mercy.
Yeah, he played Trevenant because one of his friends actually told him that Trevenant was probably better against the field, and so he had the Eels deck to give me. But I was able to 2-0. Sorry, I like 1-2 the first Trevenant, 2-0 the second Trevenant. And your basic strategy as Trevenant is just to use a Toad and lock. Quaking Punch is just like Forest Curse, except you do damage. And you can get it turn 1, I guess, and start doing damage. I think I just, at some point, I Float Stone a Seismitoad so it can't be locked active with 0-Sick energy. And I think at some point I have like 2 DCs and 2 Lightning on my active Toad.
Jeez.
To prevent 0-Sick shenanigans. And I think that locks him out of the game.
So the Toad Punch, you think is just enough to beat it overall, just like by itself?
Yeah, that is, in fact, you're only out. I think if you go Raikou, you're just going to lose because you can't power a second one. Like, how are you going to find, like, a big part of the deck is finding the energy, but then, like, how are you going to find the energy if some turns you don't even get a supporter? So it's just very important to be able to Toad lock early and try to, I mean, I definitely cleaned up with Raikou at some points. And
I just didn't know if, like, Tree Sam would eventually come over and start winning the game for them.
Well, the thing is I bounce Dimension Valley pretty often too with Rough Seas. We both play 4, and so if I use Rough Seas, it essentially offsets their turn, and then they need to find a Valley or a third energy to even Tree Slam. So it's I think I know that one of the games with like a Seismitoad, like one of the games I had like a Seismitoad with a Fighting Fairy Belt, like 200 damage on it at some point.
Jeez.
But you could never get the knockout because of Rough Seas. Actually, there's 2 versions of Trevenant, right? There's the Red Card Hammers version, and there's the Bursting Balloon version.
Yeah.
Against Red Card Hammers, we actually do Eels does worse because you can just get red carded into Oblivion on turn 1. You can just get nothing. Against the Bursting Balloon, it's like better because they can only basically use 1 Bursting Balloon because you're going to Quaking Punch them for the rest of the game, and you're not going to break that lock. So you're basically that's easier. I think like the Red Card Hammers versions, like 40-60 for Eels, and like the Bursting Balloon version's like 60-40 for Eels.
Okay.
I think it's it's pretty close. It's a pretty close matchup. Let's see, it's 5 and 6. So I'm 6-0 at this point. There's 4 people left at 6-0, and I have 2 bad matchups and like 1 good matchup, and I end up getting the good matchup, thankfully. Playing against a guy I played at Worlds a couple months ago, a guy named Chris from Michigan. So he's playing Night March, and I don't know he's playing Toad, or he doesn't know I'm playing Toad. And turn 1, I have this all thought out in my head. I'm going to Sycamore, and then my top deck Karen. The game, it completely changes what I do. I think he got like 6 Night Marchers in the discard pile on turn 1. I Karen him immediately with a Raikou active, and like Ultra Ball for Toad, attach a lightning to it, then Karen, something like that. Next turn I Sycamore, and then like by turn 3 I get the Karen Quaking Punch turn, and so it's just over.
Oh.
Game 2, more or less, I do the same thing. I just don't get Karen early, but I'm able to compressor it and via Seeker some turn to to like set him back. He uses like puzzles of times and compressors to get back all his Night Marchers, and he actually Lysandres my Toad the turn that he does it to hit 180. But next turn I have another VS Seeker for Karen, and I'm out of Toad, but I shuffled Toad back in, couldn't find it. I didn't have my Ultra Ball, so I just put 3 energies on a Raikou and started swinging.
Yeah.
And it's Raikou has 160 HP with an Eviolite. So he was out of compressors, out of puzzles, and just couldn't do enough damage to kill Raikous.
With an Eviolite.
Or it's an Eviolite.
I'll allow it. It is legal. So, but what were your 2 bad matchups there in the other 2 players? Do you remember?
So the other one, I think it was like Turbo. It was like Turbo Dark Giratina, which I think is bad for me.
Okay.
It's because he has a way to easily one-shot Raikou, starting from turn 2. Like if he just puts a lot of pressure on, I can't do anything about it.
That's true.
Like Giratina, like double Dragon Energy reads quadruple plus power
Every turn.
Every turn. So.
Yeah.
On the list of Turbo Dark, we're playing like 4 Dark Patch for a Max Elixir, so it's just going to be in for a bad time, I think.
Oh yeah.
Mewtwo can't even do anything to stop it. So the other bad matchup was what I played against in round 8. I played against one of my best friends, Mike Fouché.
Okay.
He was playing Wobgore. Very good list, and he's very experienced playing the deck. And so I know it's losing. I play an AZ, but no Keldeo, no Pokemon Center Lady, so it's like a 20-80 matchup for me. It's 80-20 the other way if I do play one Pokemon Center Lady, but I didn't because I didn't know, I guess. And so basically I was 7-0. He was 6-0-1. So he could have played it out and taken the win, which is better, I guess, for him overall, but he didn't want to risk missing cut.
True.
So he agrees to ID with me, so it helps both of us. That we're both guaranteed cut, and I get points from a bad matchup.
True.
And so Mikey and I would be paired up against 2 more times in the rest of the tournament. So we'll talk about that a little more later. And so to round out day 1, I play against one of my friends, Ryan Grant. He's playing Rainbow Road with no Archeops, which is a little more favorable for me.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him if he wanted ID. He said no. He wanted to play it out and see what happened, so he did.
Oh, man.
So I thought he ran Archeops, so I was like, all right, I'll take the ID. But basically, it's not fun times because I have Army of Eels. I can choose when I want to bounce Skyfield. So he does run one Parallel City, which caught me off guard. But I'm able to counter it with Rough Seas immediately. It doesn't really hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, like he uses a Xerneas Break to hit me. And then I basically have a huge hand from Colress, and I Mewtwo DC Fighting Fury Belt double Dynamo to knock out the Xerneas Break with 150 HP.
Jesus.
And that basically locks him out of the game because he has no way to deal with his Mewtwo.
Yeah.
So that's day 1. I finished 801. The second time I ended Philly 801, but day 1 in Philly 801. But
now, how does it feel like when you're going to when you're leaving the venue, knowing that you're 801, you got 25 points already?
Yeah.
You need 31 to cut, so you get to win 2 matches the next day or something like that.
Yeah, it felt pretty good, honestly. It's comforting knowing what you need to do the next day, that you can take draws against bad matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just gives you more flexibility with what you can do day 2.
Now, how did you feel about the field going into day 2? Did you know most of it or no?
I knew most of the field. I thought most of the field was favorable for me. There was, I knew I was going to be playing against Alex Fields, who was playing a very interesting Seismitoad, Garbodor, Glaceon, Regice deck. I knew that's what I'd be paired against day 2, but that was unfavorable for me. But there was a lot of Trevenant, a lot of Seismitoad bats without Garbodor. There's Evosoda, which is favorable for me, and I generally do well against EX decks, except the ones that are like Giratina based. I can really accelerate. So I was pretty confident with my matchups going in. But I thought it was just sort of, if the pairings went well, I'd win. If it didn't, then I lose, I guess.
Yeah. Sky's the limit kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what happened day 2? What'd you play against?
Yeah, so I played against round 10. I played against the guy who had 23 points, who's second seed. He played Seismitoad, Garbodor, Glaceon, Regice. And game 1, he actually makes a major mistake, not knowing I was playing Toad. So he actually Ultra Balls, discarding his Flare Grunt. And then Sycamore is discarding his Zero Sick. And this is because he had red carded me on turn 1.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't want to end me. He had the end. He didn't want to end me. He didn't know, so I wouldn't call it a misplay, but in retrospect, he shouldn't have done it. So he thinks he doesn't need it because I have Dynamotor to recycle energy anyway. But turn 1, I actually have Ultra Ball and a Supporter in hand and a Sycamore in hand. So I Ultra Ball for Seismitoad, like Sycamore into a DCE. I float, or like the Float Stone. I retreat to Seismitoad and I Quaking Punch. And he has no, he like, I don't know how many Flare Grunts and Zero Sick he ran, but I don't imagine more than 2 Grunts and 1 Zero Sick.
Yeah.
And so he had no way to remove my energy. And I actually got a Fighting Fury Belt on my Toad before I Quaking Punched him. So I was actually doing better against his Toad than he was against me. And I basically used the turns, like I had played Rough Seas in plays, we stalled for a little bit with Rough Seas healing off. I was doing 10 and he was doing 0.
Yeah.
But eventually I just built such a big army of Raikous and got enough of an early lead that I was able to pull it through. I think I never broke Quaking Punch lock until I had 2 Raikous on the bench with like a Shaymin on my opponent's bench, and like for the easy knockout. So I think I Quaking Punched probably the most in the tournament that game. Maybe like, I don't even think 20 is an under it now. Maybe that's like 15 to 20 times that game.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah. Game 2, he gets smart. He knows what he needs to do. He goes first, attaches a Float Stone. I know this is a horrendous matchup. It's 15, like 85, I think, at best. He needs to prize poorly or start poorly for me to win, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
So I basically, I know I can't. It's still 15 minutes Swiss. We spent like 30 minutes or 20, maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes on game 1. I know I can't win game 2, so I play for him to deck me out. I basically Rough Seas as much as I can. I get energy on Raikou to make him do 10. I actually prized Toad that game too, which made it more difficult. So I basically play for him to deck me out, and he successfully does deck me out. And game 3 just never has a chance to finish. So then I don't think I attacked the last maybe 15 turns of the game because I was out of energy to attack. But at the same time, I think I stuck a Rough Seas, so he couldn't kill me either. So he just had to wait for me to deck out. Yeah.
Jeez.
So I got a tie there. I played against another Trevenant in round 11, actually against the guy who won, Jonathan Crespo. Game 1 he mulligans 5 times to give me the nuts. He mulligans 5 times, gets the Wally, but I get the Hex with Computer Search in my hand, so I get to like find Seismitoad, Float Stone, and Ultra Ball too, and like just go off, and I get a Quaking Punch. He's unable to. He didn't have energy turn 1, which was also big, and he's unable to bump my Rough. He plays Dimension Valley, like get this Revenant break, and like I think he saw my spheres, but I bump his with Rough Seas, and like he just can't find another Dimension Valley the next turn. And I think I 6-shot his. I 6-shot his Trevenant break.
6-shot.
I think I 6-shot like 2 Trevenant breaks that game.
Yeah.
With Quaking Punch, and took that one. I lost game 2 to Red Card. Red Card's really strong. I mean, Bursting Balloon's very good too against certain matchups like Evosoda, but against Eels, Red Card just is a killer. Awesome. And then game 3, I do the same thing early where I Seismitoad him. I take a risk and kill his Trevenant with a Raikou, but he has like 4 hammers in his hand. Like I shouldn't have broken Quaking Punch lock. I thought I needed to at that point, so it becomes a struggle. But eventually, I actually run him out of Dimension Valleys and energies.
Okay.
And he concedes at the end. There's just no way for him to win, and he was going to deck out. So at this point, I'm 902, and I'm playing against another friend of New York who top forward. Noel, he played Toad Bats, and Toad Bats is just a favorable matchup. It's like 60-40, I think.
Yeah.
And so, Yeah, game one, I actually just start with a lot of energies in my hand, so I just like attach 3 energies to a Raikou manually before I Sycamore. um, and I didn't have a Sycamore, so I just like started attaching energy to Raikou.
Yeah.
And then I 2-shot his Toad.
Because, like, what, he's maybe punching for 10 or 30 or something like that?
He was punching for 0.
Oh, because the Rough Seas, yeah, too, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's so bad, yeah.
He had a Fighting Fairy Belt, but he was getting 0. Like, he was doing Golbat damage too, but I had 160 HP, and it's just like, wasn't... Yeah.
It's not enough, yeah.
Game 2, he locks me out. I get a bad hand. I need the Ultra Ball at some point to get Shaymin, but he has Quaking Punch up. And game 3, I actually go first without a draw supporter, so I just had to attach to Raikou, like bench a Tynamo and you know, pass, and like I think he's forced to end me, and he misses Quaking Punch because he can't retreat. Oh, because I'd hexed the first turn. I hexed the first turn, so he couldn't retreat a Zubat.
Zubat was stuck, yeah.
Yeah, so Zubat was stuck active, so that actually buys me. The hex is very important. Misses Quaking Punch. The next turn I Ultra Ball for Toad. I have the Eelektrik and Compressor. I get like 2 lightning on Seismitoad, and now I'm 0 sick proof. So then I Sycamore into Computer Search for Fighting Fairy Belt and start swinging for Quaking Punch. So I'm punching him.
Jeez.
Doesn't feel good. Yeah, the math doesn't work out for him. He doesn't find enough bats, and I'm eventually able to I just bench him out with he just couldn't play Ultra Balls and didn't have a supporter.
Yeah. It's weird, like, you're playing Raikou, but a lot of these matches, like, Seismitoad go, and, like, it's enough to win you a bunch of games, just like that Seismitoad you play. It's so weird.
Yeah, Seismitoad is certainly MVP of many matchups. Yeah. And then round 13, I play against played against a Turbo Dark deck with Malamar. He ends up top 8ing as well. So it's nice to ID in round 13, and I also ID with Mikey in round 14. I actually contemplated taking the loss to Mikey to be on a different side of the bracket because I knew Wobgor was like an auto loss.
Yeah.
But there was like one 30-point person at table 3, Tom Philly, that could have. I don't remember his last name. Philby. I don't exactly remember his last name, but he could have messed me up.
Sounds good enough.
Yeah, so I took the ID. Where I was actually discussing with Mikey, like, what if we actually were playing round 14 to lose to have a better bracket? And the worst part about our matchup, we actually thought about this over lunch. The worst part about the Eels matchup with Wobgor is that you can't really win without PCL, without Pokemon Center Lady, but you also can't lose by decking out because he has Musharna, so he can forewarn into more cards to deck out first before I do. So I can neither win that matchup nor lose it. There's no way to win or lose. So, you know, and obviously that's not why we ID. I realized the 30-pointer at table 3 is going to screw up whatever plans I had anyway, so I just take the ID.
Make top 8?
Top 8, first seed.
How does that feel, for being first seed?
First seed's great. I hadn't been first seed in a while, since Philly, like 3 years ago, so
yeah,
it's nice. It's nice, but you still have to play. I wish they just finished the tournament at around 14.
Yeah, we'll take it, guys. I'll take the 5 grand and go home now.
I got it from here.
Yeah, don't worry. Just trust me. I'm first seed for a reason. I won already. So
yeah. Obviously, yeah.
So going to top 8, like it sounds like Mikey's like your only matchup you don't want to play against.
Yeah. There was Mikey actually played against my other bad matchup, which I think was a Turbo Dark Max Malamar.
Okay.
I just think he could one-shot me, and he could also put me to sleep. It's like, I don't know. I just don't like Malamar. Dealing with Malamar.
All the flips.
I'm playing against Ben Sox, Evotal Maxis. It's slightly favorable for me. He starts poorly game 1, can't get Archeops, and it's load my bench, and he doesn't get a turn 2 Archeops either, so I just get a bunch of Eels out, and it just goes how you would expect. There was a critical turn where he sent up a Darkrai EX, a Night Spear Darkrai to wall, and he had a Jirachi and Shaymin on his bench. He just had a Jirachi on his bench with a Darkrai with 2 energies on it. Mm-hmm. I have 2 prizes left. It's nice that Raikou with Lightning and DC one-shots every single non-EX attacker in his deck. Sableye and Eviltals. So I drew 2 prizes early. So I decided, instead of Lysandering the Jirachi for 2 prizes immediately, I Lysandered out his Darkrai with 2 Darks just to soften it up. Because in case he ever wants to Night Spear with it, it gets knocked out immediately.
Yeah.
So I do that instead. Turns out to be the right choice because next turn he ends me. So I would have been end to 2. Instead I was end to 4, which really helps. Like having a 5-card hand versus a 3-card hand in the next turn after you draw is like very big. So then I end up like, he ends up swinging with his other Darkrai. I hit it. They both have 110. The turn after, I'm able to Lysandre the Jirachi, kill it, and then both of his to take 2 prizes with the Raikou on the bench. And so both of his Darkrai's have 110 on them already.
Yeah.
So he can't Night Spear me without receiving the knockout. So it's like, it's a cool thing where like the turn order of when you hit what attackers actually makes a difference. Yeah. I think if I killed the Jirachi the turn I wanted to, like I think I would have lost because of the end.
Got into 3, had a bad hand, and can't knock out Darkrai in 2 hits, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's just a lesson to, oftentimes the Jirachi prize is going to be there whenever you need it. It's often more important to go for the attackers and soften them up than to take the prizes early, especially with end of the format.
Yeah. That goes the same with standard too, with Shaymins and stuff. Sometimes you don't want to knock out the Shaymins and stuff like that.
Yeah. So game two is a little more little closer. He gets Archeops out very early, so I have to Evosoda into an Eel, which like 1 Eel is really enough. He does parallel me at very inopportune times for me. Like there's one turn I couldn't bounce. Like I bounced the Seas but couldn't find a Raikou. Like because I had to Sycamore the Raikou. I had to Sycamore the Raikou to get the Seas.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like bad times. I still had a chance at the end to win. I actually swung with Yveltal early, but I couldn't kill it because I just didn't get the Eels out. Didn't get it. I actually did 160 to it with a Lightning DCE Fighting Fury Belt Raikou. The next turn, I actually Thunder Waved with a Tynamo to kill Yveltal. No joke.
He didn't have a Fighting Fury Belt to save it?
He did not. Tynamo was the only attacker in my deck that could deliver the one-shot. I contemplated using Shaymin Sky Return at the time, but I rather attach the DC to Raikou next turn because I only had 1 Eel out, so I wanted to be able to attack.
Yeah.
So I sacked a Tynamo because I couldn't evolve it anyway. It comes down actually very close to the end. I make a comeback, I am well, I think, and I'm able to. It comes down to whether I have like 12 cards in deck. Sorry, 12 cards between my hand and my deck. I Colress into those 12 cards. I have exactly 1 Evosoda and 2 Eels left. I need to draw the Evosoda and at most 1 of the 2 Eels. Then I actually can get the energy on a Raikou to set up and knock out the next turn. Mm-hmm. I Colress, and I think I drew the Evosoda, drew the first Eels, and I think the 6th card was like the second Eels. So then, yeah, just bad times, and I lost. Yeah, it was very close. And game 3 comes down to time. I'm just able to take 2 quick EX knockouts before. I mean, he has to swing into Raikou, so then that doesn't really go very well. So I just went on time. It's unclear who would have won at the end. He did swing with Gallade, but I had access to Mewtwo again. Yeah. Like I had Super Rod in my hand. The turn he knocked out Mewtwo. Or sorry, I had like I had Ultra Ball from Mewtwo, and I still had Super Rod left in deck, so I could have killed the Gallade depending on how I drew. But it was unclear. But fortunately for me, I was able to win on just taking 2 EX knockouts and drawing 4 prizes.
Did he get the Archeops game 3 out or no?
He did not. He did
okay.
not. It was too late by the time. Like I already had 2 Eels out, and at that point, you'd just rather get Gallade. Like I only need 2 Eels. Yeah.
All right. And top 4, what's happening there? You nervous?
Top 4 is freaking insane. It's probably the most insane match Pokemon I've played in my life. Not in my life, obviously, but at least in the last year for sure. Could be, yeah. So Mikey had actually never beaten me in a Pokemon tournament. Like we've tied, I think. Our first meeting was actually during the Ruby Sapphire Challenge. That's where we became friends, like 02 or 03, whatever that was. And we actually played in the video game component of the Ruby Sapphire Challenge. And so, like throughout my life, like I had a 6-7 year hiatus that so we didn't play during those times. And then Mikey went to college, so we played a couple times since he came back, and he hasn't beaten me yet. But yeah, it looks like he's about to get his revenge, and so the match is really insane. Right, game 1, I actually donk his active Mew-EX on turn 2. He just I bench a Mewtwo, like get energy on it, and then basically he passes, and I get a Shaymin, find Computer Search Float Stone, get an Electric Dynamotor, and 3 energy Mewtwo knocks out Mew for the game.
We'll take it.
Game 2 goes as you would expect. He starts off slow. he's forced to loop sky returns for a little bit, and I take a few KOs, but I draw dead mid game, and I really can't finish it. And game 3 was the like super intense game. So I actually wrote like a mini report for I guess for myself and my team, and so like it's pretty detailed. So I start Raikou with bench Tynamo. I set up with Shaymin, bench another Tynamo or Raikou, attach DC to the active Hex, and then I pass. So Mikey starts Muna, but gets some other stuff on the bench too, like a Shellmet, another Muna, and a Wobbuffet. So I know this is sort of in his favor already, right? So because of Hex, he can't use he can't use Shaymin, so he actually Ultra Balls on turn 1, and I actually remind him like, don't get Shaymin. I hexed. I don't know why I said that. But just even in game 3 of top 4 regionals, I felt like we were testing. So I just impulsively told him like, oh, don't get a Shaymin.
You're being a good friend and everything.
Being a good friend.
Yeah.
So what's funny is like 20 seconds after this, he declares long distance hypnosis. I thought he was kidding. And he starts flipping the coin like, dude, I hexed. he just forgot. He just assumed like there was ability lock because of like, and then he could use his psychic type abilities.
Yeah.
But that actually is big because then I can get a knockout on his active Mona the next turn with a Raikou. So I do that. And I kill the Moonnet, getting AZ out of my prizes. The game's over if I don't get AZ out of my prizes, I think.
Yeah.
So he deck and covers me for a little bit, and I set up 2 Electrics with Float Stones. And that's big because I can actually send them active and threaten to evolve into Eelektross to get out of paralysis. And so that actually came up big. He actually had to play around the fact that he knew I had Eelektross in my deck. It's also like really interesting because we both knew each other's exact 60 because we talked about our lists. So it was like really interesting. Like I knew what resources he had left. I knew he knew what resources I had left.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically I'm able to pick up my Raikou that it's like deck and covered locked with AZ, and then I kill a Wobbuffet using Mewtwo's X-Ball. Mewtwo's actually really big in that matchup early because it's like your most efficient way to kill a Wobbuffet. It's like worth giving up 2 prizes just to keep the pressure. He locks me to active, like Fighting Fury Belt to try to save it. But, like I have to let it die eventually, I try to use Fighting Fury Belts strategically on like Raikous with like Rough Seas to try to get the knockout going into my turn, and like I'm mostly successful with that. And so it gives me like a turn to attack something. So the turn, one of these turns, the turn Mewtwo dies, I actually like Lysander's Musharna, like triple Dynamotor, and then take the KO with Raikou. So I decided to go for Musharna and not Shaymin. I think that's right because he doesn't have Musharna the rest of the game, which means he whiffs a little bit. Yeah. I think having played a lot of Wobgor like myself before, like I think Musharna is more important because if you kill their Shaymin, they're just never going to whiff if they still have Musharna.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, so good. Also, yeah, it's attack, Fluffy Dream, 40 damage, and you get to put yourself and your opponents asleep. It's broken.
Well, doesn't need a psychic energy?
2 psychics.
Yeah.
Mikey played only 1 mystery though, so
yeah.
you couldn't attack with Fluffy Dream. Yeah, so I go for the Musharna because his end plays are dead if he doesn't have it. And so Mike actually smartly uses Sky Return on his Shaymin, so I actually am not paralyzed. I get another kill, putting me down to 3 prizes. He locks a Raikou active, and I let it die coming into my turn, so now we're 3-3. I use another Lysander and Raikou to combination to kill an Excelgor, putting me down to 2. Raikou gets locked. So I do the Rough Seas Fighting Fairy Belt play to get the KO onto my turn, to stall on their turn and get the KO on my turn. He's down to 2 prizes. I use the VS Seeker to get the end to put him to 2 cards. And I actually, at this point, I use so basically I get down to 2 like there's an AZ play in the middle. I get down. We're basically tied at 2-2 at this point.
Yeah,
rambling a little bit, but I get down to 2-2 at this point. At this point, my best play is actually to evolve into Eelektross and Thunder Tempest is active Wobbuffet. I need 3 out of 4 heads, or else I lose because he has deck and cover next turn for the knock on Eelektross. So I flip them 2 at a time because we only had 2 clear die. First 2 are heads tails. The second 2 are double heads, so I actually do 150 with Thunder Tempest. Thunder Tempest to get the knockout. It had already taken damage, so it's knocked out immediately.
Yeah.
And then so here I basically have the chance to win. I have my last VS Seeker. I Lysander his Shellmet. Shellmet is 3 retreat. And he had all 4 Excelgors accounted for. 2 are in the discard, 2 are in play. His Super Rod was gone. And so I knew Shulma is going to be stuck active. So then I actually dynamoed her to my Eelektrik, because the 10 damage from Thunder Wave plus the 50 from Electric Balls actually kills the Shellmet for my last prize. He smartly Lysanders my Shaymin and uses Yawn. Yeah. So I'm out of energy at this point. So I computer search for Super Rod, putting 3 lightnings back. And so basically the next turn, he yawns and attaches and yawns. And again, the next turn, my win condition is I have to wake up from yawn and rip one of the 3 out of the 7 lightnings from my deck. And so there's about a 21% chance of that happening. And if you told me at the beginning of this match, I had a 21, like just on a flip, I had a 21% chance to win, I would have taken that absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I try. I don't wake up and the top deck wasn't a lightning energy. So
both 0-0.
So both 0-0,
Oh,
and Mikey wins the next turn. Yeah.
Jeez, that was like what? Were the judges watching? Did they knew like exactly what was going on? Like all the crazy stuff that was happening?
There was a huge crowd because it wasn't streamed. There were like good 30, 40 people watching, I think.
Jeez. Somebody should have Facebook Lived it.
Someone should have. Yeah, I guess it was the first time that someone has seen a Thunder Tempest used in the top 4. I was going to use all of the attacks. I was going to use Thunder Wave, Electric Ball, Thunder Tempest.
I've never read Thunder Tempest. This is the first time I've heard of it.
It's really good. 50 damage. You flip 4 coins, get 50 damage per heads. You do 200 damage. That could knock out an EX.
With those head flips, you could have.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah.
But still, I mean, top 4 is fantastic. So congratulations, sir.
Yeah, it was the largest regionals in the history of the Pokemon Train Bearing, beating Orlando from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think like these regionals keep getting bigger and bigger?
I think there's certain locations that are prime spots. Florida is always a popular one to go to. It's always a well-run event. Philadelphia, I think, is in the center of the largest Pokemon communities in the U.S. Okay. So there's like the whole like Mid-Atlantic area with like Virginia and Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina. There's people flying up from Florida because Orlando to Philly or Miami to Philly is not a terrible flight. There's a New England group, a New York group that I'm from, and then the people coming from the Midwest. Philadelphia is not a terrible drive. It's like a maybe 6, 7, 8 hour drive for some people, and some people can fly in.
Yeah.
And so it's like within the same time zone almost for a ton of people. It's like I think Philadelphia and Fort Wayne will be the 2 largest regionals this year.
Oh man.
And maybe Dallas, because Dallas is like just the right weekend. New Year's weekend, everyone has time off.
Yeah. It'd be interesting for sure, because like especially now since like all regionals are like just a weekend by itself.
Yeah.
So
that actually makes it harder for you to like. It actually makes it harder to do to get points from regionals because you're competing with basically everyone, right? Like back then in the day, there's like 3 regionals a weekend. You're splitting up the good players between 3 locations. And it's like easier to make a deep run. But now it's like every good player within 500 miles is going to show up.
And even that, like people from across the nation are going to fly over, like we saw. So.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people fly in from different areas. Definitely, like I saw people fly in from Texas, from Washington.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, but so after the whole tournament, would you make any changes to your list, or you think it's really solid as it is?
You mean to Azul's list?
Oh yeah, to Azul's list. Yeah, sorry.
Maybe I think. So Azul actually had one difference with me, like minor difference. He actually played a Spark Tynamo, not a Thunderwave Tynamo. The idea is that you can catch Groudon off guard, then pop their Sash, if they like don't bench Mime for some reason, which I don't know makes sense, but I guess I never needed to Spark all weekend because I'd never played against a Groudon. Another interchangeable card is Fighting Fairy Belt for Assault Vest, depending on what matchup you want to make yourself less squishy for.
Yeah.
And I think there's like 3 flex spots in the deck that you can potentially cut. The Eelektross spot, if you're okay with taking a loss to Jolteon EX. The Karen spot, if you're okay with taking a loss to Night March. And a Fighting Fairy Belt can be cut, I think, if you want to make yourself like less bulky in general, but for more utility. Mm-hmm. And like there's 5 cards, maybe 5 or 6 cards I maybe wanted to add. I think Pokemon Center Lady for sure wins you like the Excelgor matchup and also makes Raikou bulky. Like it turns 2 shots into 3 shots, so I'd probably play a Pokemon Center Lady if I were to play this list again. just because, you know, paralysis is a real status condition that you can be afflicted by, and it's horrible. A lightning energy, I think 7 is the bare minimum you can play. I originally questioned Azul on why he played 3 double colorless and 7 lightning and not like 8-2, but it turned out that like exerting early pressure with Toad or Mewtwo, or just like putting a DC on a Raikou, is like really big because you can hit 70 on turn 2 with Raikou.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't cut a DCE, but I might consider an 11th energy for you know, the 8th lightning. Level ball is good for general consistency. Didn't like as I mentioned before, like you don't really need more than 2 Dynamotors a turn anyway, so like it's not that big to, you can just Ultra Ball for your Dynamos and naturally draw into them, but like a level ball would be nice, I guess. I don't know if like I super want it. Starling Megaphone and Tool Scrapper or Zero Sick, I guess, are another option. Zero Sick is probably what I prefer to play because it gives you a way to remove tools under Toad Lock. So against Toad Garb, if you can Zero Sick their Float Stone on their Garbodor, even if they're Quaking Punching you, like you get Dynamotors now and you get to build Raikous. So it's very big. That could like make the matchup a lot better. And Zero Sick's generally useful. Zero Sick was originally in the list. Actually, we decided Azul and I and Eric and decided to cut it last minute for Karen because we saw some Night March and going around.
Yeah. You can always see Night March, which I think is like a smart play for sure for Karen.
I wouldn't play this. I wouldn't cut Karen. I don't think. I think,
yeah, no, I'm saying like Night March is like everywhere. Like I would always, I don't know. Did you not see a lot of it?
What?
Did you not see a lot of it that weekend?
I saw one. There were a lot in like the middle tables.
Yeah.
Like I think 2 of them cut. Peter Kika and like Chris DeRocher cut with Night March, and like Chris was like 7-1-1 going into day 2 with one of the top seeds. So like Night March still beats stuff if you don't play Karen to beat it.
Yeah.
And even it still beats stuff with Karen. You need a Karen multiple times in the game and just lock him out. I think it really helps it with Raikou's bulk, a non-EX attacker, that you can successfully Karen. And I think this deck uses Karen better than most.
Yeah. All right. And so going towards Worlds, how many championship points are you at right now?
I have no clue. I think it's like 184, I think, if I'm not doing the math incorrectly.
Yeah. Well, you've made a top 4 and a top 32 or a top 16?
A top 4 and a top 16 at regionals. And I have 2 league challenge second place finishes.
Oh, no.
I haven't won a league challenge in like 2 years. No joke.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need them.
I didn't go to any last year because I just got my invite and I stopped playing. So I didn't really like travel for league challenges last year, and like 2 years ago I just wasn't winning them. So.
How do you feel about the 500 points now? Do you think it's too much? Or you think it's fine?
I mean, I think if we got League Cups all 4 quarters, it would be too little. If we got League Cups 2 quarters, it's way too much. If we get League Cups in 3 quarters, I think it's just fine. I think Worlds was a lot of people last year. I don't know if it's better or is more or less. I don't know what exactly. I mean, you can make arguments for both, right? That TBCI is trying to grow the game, and so we want more people to be included in Worlds. You can also make the argument that it's like not as exclusive because I'll be completely honest. Like for me, like 300 points last year was a cakewalk. It was like it was almost a joke to get 300 points, especially with LCs giving out 15 a piece.
Free 90 almost.
It's like depending on where you play, it's like a free 70 to 90 points. Yeah. It just wasn't. Yeah. So I mean, not to diminish anyone's accomplishment, just looking at it objectively, it was pretty easy to get it if you're an above average player who's willing to travel. So I think 500 is a fair amount, assuming we get an announcement from LCs sometime soon. But League Cups.
Yeah. League Cups, LCs. Yeah, I understood.
They're all both LCs.
Still just waiting to see. They said in November we'd have some, but we're still waiting for that too. So.
Yeah, well, they said Clinton was going to win in a landslide.
Maybe Trump getting office will help us out, but that's in January, so that's too late by then almost.
No, it's yeah. It is what it is. This is where we are now. So.
We'll take it as it is.
I mean, yeah. I'm a political moderate, right? So like, even though I would have preferred Clinton, I'm willing to give his policies a chance before.
How did we get here? What happened?
I don't know.
All right, man. Well, do you want to give shouts to anybody?
Yeah, shout outs to Azul especially for that sick list. That's sick about. Uh, it's if I was gonna play, I don't know. I feel like yeah. I was joking with Mikey that I lost him in top four because it's penance for not trusting his list. It's like
Oh man, I mean, would you want to play the Wob Selgor mirror match? Like, I don't know.
Wagor mirror match is actually really interesting.
Oh no, that's
It's quite 50-50 because you take knockouts on stuff.
yeah.
Set up something to take a knockout. And so like the important part is like to not knock out your opponent. It's like really weird. It's like if like Muna always gets knocked out, Shellman always gets knocked out. And so like it's like whoever runs out of the basic to take the knockout actually ends up in a, because you never want to get like a Wobbuffet hit by an Excelgor and then locked out going into your turn.
Yeah.
And you also play an AZ to like for that. So there's like, you know what I mean, right? There's like
Yeah, that's not a mirror match I want to play. Like that's too much thinking right there. Like
it's a lot of brain power.
yeah.
Wildgore is just I think it's a very good deck in standard. An expanded. It's very cyclical how people don't play Pokemon Center Ladies. And stuff, and how they don't play Olympias and AZs. I guess every deck plays AZ. Most decks play AZ, but like Olympia or Pokemon Center Lady is really what makes the difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's people saying how Wobgore couldn't do well at a big event, but I think Mikey's proved people wrong. So shout out to Mikey as well for getting second, and shout out to New York City. I think top 4 players
from New York,
from Philly regionals were all New York players. So.
Yeah.
Mikey's from Long Island, but it's close enough to New York City. We'll claim.
We'll count it, right?
Yeah. When am I going to visit you, Squeaky?
I mean, didn't you fly down to Arkansas to see? I mean, you flew down to Springfield to see Brits. I mean, you fly down to Memphis instead.
I should, yeah. No, a couple of years ago, I actually flew down here because I had a business meeting in Atlanta. That was Friday before, so I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna fly to Arkansas and try to get some points.
Because remember people seeing you there, they're like, why is Sam Chen here? Like, I'm like, I don't know.
I actually, one of my good friends from college actually lives in Little Rock, so he came over to Hot Springs, picked me up, and we played like a best of like 51 beer pong match that night. I'm even kidding.
Jeez.
There's like photos on Facebook and everything. Yeah.
Oh, so there you go. Add him on Facebook. You can see the pictures.
Yeah.
There you go. At Brandon Chen.
Brandon Chen. Yeah.
All right, man. Want to say anything else before we head out?
Yeah, I love you, man.
I love you too, man.
All right. Thanks for having me. I look forward to seeing you. Am I going to see you? You're going to Fort Wayne, right?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh no.
It's Thanksgiving weekend. I only don't get much time off. My girlfriend who lives across the country doesn't get much time off, so it's like the one weekend we have like long vacation. So it's like hang out with my girlfriend, like do a romantic date somewhere, or
come have a romantic date with me instead.
Yeah, but the issue is I'd have to play like 14 rounds of Pokemon.
You don't have to. I didn't play in Orlando, and we still had a date.
That's true.
But I'm not recording this time, so we can't have that kind of experience again.
That's true.
Yeah. But hey, let's do the outro. You want to do the outro?
The what?
Do the outro to the video.
What is the outro to the video?
I don't know. Just say bye.
All right, we'll say bye.
All right, bye.
Bye, sweetie.
All right, guys. I just want to give a quick shout out to our 3 sponsors, 60 Cards, Yeti Gaming, and the Pokemon Company International. Links to everything will be down below in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Alrighty.